What's up, everyone? Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies, and welcome to my review of Downton Abbey, the grand finale, the latest and possibly final chapter for the Crawley family and their devoted staff. The movie finds the beloved Crawleys and their staff grappling with a changing world as a new generation takes over Downton. But that change won't be easy as the family faces financial trouble and Mary finds herself at the center of a public scandal. Before I jump into the review, do me a favor, make sure you subscribe, that way you can keep up with everything I'm posting on the channel, including all of the movie reviews, entertainment news, and more.
It's hard to accept that it's time to go. Your friendship has never been more important to all of us. But the future of Downton Abbey is now in Mary's hands.
Downton Abbey, the grand finale is a movie made for Downton Abbey fans. Now, I count myself among the Downton Abbey fans. I've watched this series since it debuted, and I've seen the previous two movies. And I remember the first time I ever watched the series, I immediately fell in love with the characters and their stories. And this is a show I consider to be a comfort series because it's one that I like to revisit often. So when it comes to Downton Abbey, the grand finale, the big question is whether it delivers a satisfying farewell to a series that began over a decade ago and garnered millions of fans. And I think for the most part, it does. Again, this movie is a love letter to fans, so it's packed with nods and callbacks that fans will appreciate. It brings you back to the world of Downton, so there are plenty of gorgeous costumes and the grand set pieces of the mansions and the manors that these characters inhabit. And of course, in true Downton Abbey fashion, the movie does a great job of recreating the time period in which the story is set. So the big thing the characters across the board are dealing with in this movie are the changing times. And this is nothing new. This has been a theme that's been part of the Downton Abbey series since the beginning. And you often have characters dealing with changes to old ways versus new ways, or a shift in class structures, or a shift in the way society views things. But I think in this movie in particular, it leans a little bit more heavily into that. I think more so than the series, just because this is supposed to be the end. So what you have is a lot of characters struggling to adapt to new things, whether that be changes in technology or changes in society. You have a lot of characters afraid of the future, of the unknown. And to be honest, it makes sense because change can be hard. But each character deals with it in their own way, and that definitely allows for some really touching moments, especially when it comes to the family dynamics. And I think that's something that Downton has always done really well, and I think it's one of the reasons why people love this show so much, is because you have these very human relationships that are happening amid everything else. In this movie in particular, you see so many characters grappling with change that do affect their relationships with the people around them. You have Lord Grantham grappling with a change in his role at Downton, and how that affects his relationship with Mary. Mary is dealing with her own public scandal, and so she leans on her sister, Edith, a character who she's often been at odds with. And it was really interesting to see the character arc that happens between these two characters in this movie. You have characters who are dealing with retirement and what it might mean for their place among their friends and the people that they've known or worked for a really long time. And it's not just the relationships between the family or the upstairs. It's also the relationship between the characters, the staff, the downstairs, and also the relationship between the upstairs and the downstairs. Because yes, even though there's a class structure here, the family has a very deep personal relationship with their staff because they've been with them for so long. Now, where this movie falls short, and it does have its flaws, is with the story, unfortunately. It is way too overstuffed. It's trying to juggle too many things, too many characters, too many storylines, and trying to wrap up too many story arcs. It really felt like an entire season of Downton was crammed into a 2-hour movie. And even though it was nice to see so many familiar faces, having that many characters in the movie wasn't as satisfying as I would have hoped, mostly just because so many of those character moments that should have landed just felt shortchanged because not enough time was devoted to those character moments. And it really felt like the movie was just presenting certain things and then it had to move on to the next thing. Now, I didn't go into this movie expecting a lot of character growth. I mean, at this point, we're at the end, allegedly. And so these characters are very much established in who they are and what their motivations are. I wasn't expecting any big revelations, but there was one subplot involving Lady Mary that just felt like lazy retread. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will say it's something her character has done or dealt with before. And it was basically a moment where I thought to myself, At this point, she should know better. Downton Abbey, the grand finale, covers a lot of familiar ground, and yes, it has its flaws, but I think for fans of the series, it delivers a satisfying send-off with solid performances and some really touching moments and plenty of callbacks that fans will appreciate. At the end of the day, this movie just feels like you're catching up with old friends one more time. So those are my thoughts on Downton Abbey, the grand finale, which is out in theaters this week. Do you plan on seeing it? Let me know in the comments. While you're here, like and subscribe, and stick around for more videos like this.